Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. 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 I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. People, cause I live for the people. I live for the people, cause I love the people.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Show. And that was a trailer from the film Judas and the Black Messiah. Our special guest today is a part of that film, and that's going to be coming your way into theaters coming up later on in the day. So, not in the year of 2021. Happy New Year. Yes. 2021, please be kind, please. We all, hey, Dave, how's it going, bro? We all think that when 2020 leaves, coronavirus is going with it. Don't think so. It's not like, hey, 2020's gone. Come give me a hug. COVID-19's gone too. No, that's not the case. So we got to pray and hopefully everything will be okay. On our show today, we have Victoria Day. She's a comedian and an actress, also a mental health advocate who enjoys speaking to groups on various topics using humor with a message. And so we kind of got our streams crossed here today. So just waiting on Victoria to join us. We just got things a little bit mixed up there, but she'll be with us momentarily. But it is great to be back. It's been a great time off. I hope everybody has been able to maintain their weight and not get too out of control there. But you got, hello, Candace. Yes, you got to enjoy the holidays, though. You got to have that extra deviled egg. You got to have, that extra 5 or 6 deviled eggs. You got to enjoy everything. The chocolate, the cookies, the cake, the pies, the mac and cheese, the potato salad, the turkey, the fried chicken, the collard greens. I could go on and on and on. You get the idea. You got to enjoy it. And so hopefully everyone's been able to keep things pretty much within the lines, if you will. So I came out pretty unscathed. We do have Victoria Day, comedian, who also was on America's Got Talent recently. And so she's going to be with us. I showed a snippet of the show, the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, which is played by Daniel Kaluuya, who was in the film Get Out. That's where he made his debut in acting. And wow, did he make a big splash with the film Get Out. And now he's doing this film, which is about civil rights activist Fred Hampton and so forth. What a tumultuous time that was during the 60s. Tumultuous time during the 60s into the early part of the 70s. And so the film centers around that era, and it's eerily, quite frankly, and honestly, everybody out there, it's eerily similar to what's actually happening right now in our country. When you talk about, hey, what's up, Aaron? What's going on, bro? I hope you enjoyed the ball games yesterday. Looks like your Washington football team made it to the playoffs. Good luck. Actually, with Alex Smith, you should be pretty good. I like Alex Smith, and I'm rooting for him, except when he plays the Packers, as you know. Anyway, but as I was saying, Black Lives Matter situation that's going on. Hello, Karen. How are you? Happy New Year to you. And so, hey, you got to love it. Marcus says, I'm mad the video stalled, and I thought the movie was about Fred Hammond. Okay. No, it's not about Fred Hammond. It's about Fred Hampton. But yes, Marcus, go, Pat, go, dude. I mean, we got the #1 seed, and we're trying to make some things happen up there in Titletown this year. We need to get that Lambeau Trophy back to where it belongs, but it's a lot of work that's going to have to be done before that happens. So let's see what happens. Good luck to the Packers. But we're having Victoria Day on the show today. We're just having a little bit of an issue connecting, and she's working on her Wi-Fi right now. She'll be joining us momentarily. She's a comedian. You can also see her in the film Judas and the Black Messiah. While we're waiting on Victoria, Maurice, how was your Christmas? Well, Kevin, it was pretty good. Like I said, I enjoyed as much food as I could get into my belly. I had a great time. I think I came through fairly unscathed. I smoked a turkey. I smoked brisket. I smoked like 2 turkeys and 3 briskets. And, my wife had the collard greens, the mac and cheese, the potato salad. Then Brazilian treats as well. Her being from Brazil, she had to have her sides, serpicao and plantains and so forth. Man, it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it tremendously. It was just like one big party after another from Christmas right through New Year's. So it was a lot of fun, and I was glad to get through all of that. Dave says, but deviled eggs good for Christmas. Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of an oxymoron around. We'll call them stuffed eggs. How about that, Kevin? Enjoyed the heck out of them. Dave Ebert says, go home, Pat, go. I know, Dave, you're a Chicagoan. I get it. I'm sorry we had to do what we did to you guys yesterday in Chicago, no less. Of course, I did love that, but I'm sorry for you guys. You'll be in the playoffs, though, Dave. It's not that bad. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Miss Victoria Day. Hello, Victoria. Hey. How are you?
Hi, Maurice. Hi, everybody. I am blessed. I am truly blessed. Sorry about that malfunction with technology, but those links don't always work.
No, they don't always work, but it's also
no.
Now, I was telling everyone about the film Judas and the Black Messiah, a film that you had an opportunity to be a part of with Daniel Kaluuya. Daniel Kaluuya and Stanfield, he's an excellent young actor that's on the come up. Tell us a little bit about that film, Victoria.
Well, it was originally supposed to be, or until maybe they came up with the title, it was called The Unofficial Story of Fred Hampton. So I was like all on board for it, a true story. The true stories get me every time. And such a powerful story. When it's just mentioned now, like that trailer, I literally get goosebumps and get emotional because it is so powerful. And the director, Shaka King, to see him in action, like throughout my life, I followed a little bit about movies and about the directors, and my camera's falling here. But not so much that I knew like football, their height and their weight and all that stuff. But to see the directors behind the scenes is phenomenal. It's so phenomenal. To see the brilliance and to watch them thinking and planning, and they make no apology for doing the scene over and over again until they just get it right. So with that said, so that's what I was paid under, the unofficial story of Fred Hampton. And then I get goosebumps now. When my kids came to me and said, Mom, they changed the name to Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
I got somewhat concerned because my Messiah is Jesus.
Yes.
And but I told, it was a good part for us to, an opportunity to learn that I know where, now I'm not sure what Shaka King came up with his title. I'm sure he'll have it in an interview. But we put, like we say, our salvation is in, getting a new car. We use those kind of terms sometimes. So
Yeah.
I get where the Black Panthers were saying the Messiah, their Messiah, because that's what they needed. The whole community, I mean, our whole world needs a Messiah. Now, your and my Messiah is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
They needed change. They needed hope. They needed whatever they could get. So that was their language they used. Um, throughout my years, I didn't know much about the Black Panther. I heard a little bit about them. I lived a sheltered life in our community. I do know from Forrest Gump, Black Panthers were on Forrest Gump. No, but I did know that there was a movement, and his passion was social change. And I think all our passions should be social change.
It should be. Yes.
Yes. So we should always be making a difference. We should always be encouraging each other. We travel a lot as comedians, and I see a lot of poverty areas. They have no playgrounds. They have nothing for the children to do. So all we're doing is breeding, a lack of motivation to want to do anything more in your lives. If you don't, as adults, we need to put our children into those situations where they could have hope. And that's where I feel the Black Panthers. Now, I know that I'm going to come against some of it, some of my Christian friends, maybe, possibly. I don't know, because I'm not all familiar with the Black Panthers. I'm sure there could have been something in there. I mean, the FBI were investigating, but we don't know, like we watch, I'm not going to give the story away, but most of it's in history. So a lot of it was wronged. The Black Panthers were wronged in it. But it's definitely 100%. Either way, how you feel about it, I think it's 100%. Everybody should go see it, and let's open up the table for discussion. That's how I feel about it.
Well, and I totally agree with you, Victoria. I mean, listen, the reality is Jesus Christ is our Savior. We know that, and there's no question that's never going to change. But as I say that in relation to social injustice, which is of the devil,
absolutely,
and it was rightfully addressed by Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party and the civil rights activists and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., all of those things. However they decided to combat social injustice, it was all in the name of justice.
Yes.
Now, Victoria, that being said, I think that, we as followers of Christ have to have an even keel and balance in how we view the entire time. And I think we can maintain our allegiance to Jesus Christ, our Lord, our Messiah, our Savior. We can maintain that while still addressing injustices. And I think the film, Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a quasi play on words, it's a total absolute play on words, but at the same time, it's lining up with a certain kind of reality. When you're talking about Judas, we know who Judas is. When you're talking about the Black Messiah, well, we know the reason for the title when you look at Fred Hampton. And I just named a bunch of other activists during that time that could fall into that category. But so I don't think you should feel, long story short, Victoria, any kind of guilt for being a part of the film. I think it's awesome that you're a part of the film, and I think that it's a truth in American history that needs to be told.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you sending that. That's going to be a really good film, by the way. Von Bellamy says Jesus would have been with the Panthers. They help those in need, and they feed. I guess you're going to say they fed the homeless, but listen, Jesus. Jesus is with everybody, man. He's, Jesus is, he died for everybody. So, he would have been with the Panthers and whoever else is fighting for justice. How you go about acquiring and attaining justice, that's left up for debate, however you choose to go after it. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all want peace, we all want harmony, and we all want justice, and we all deserve it, which hence is the reason Jesus Christ died for us. The film that is played by Daniel Kaluuya. who was in the film Get Out. That's where he made his big splash into acting here in the States. Because I think Daniel is from Europe. But that being said, excellent actor. I mean, it was just a terrific job of acting. And I'm just looking at the trailer. I can't wait to see the film, but it looks like he tore up that role as Fred Hampton. And of course, Lakeith Stanfield, who also plays in the film, who's a young African-American actor who is on the come up. Victoria, how did you get that role, the small part that you have in the film?
I'm sorry, there was a little bit of hiccup there. I apologize.
Now, I was saying, and you may have covered it already, but I was asking, how did you find yourself being blessed enough to be a part of the film?
I auditioned for it and I didn't get a role, but I got a background extra actor. I apologize. I'm having glitches on my end.
You're okay, Victoria. I can hear you.
Okay, great. So that's, I applied for it and I was accepted. I have so many testimonies, I think, for each time I was ever in a movie, and this one was one of them. We were dressed in wardrobe, real short mini testimony. And the clothes were in the era of this movie that they were like green colors, like the nostalgia type. And prior to wardrobe, we went in and I happened to see, before we got dressed, this hideous kind of like a green color that I thought, man, that's not going to look good on me. And sure enough, they put one of my fellow actors in it that we were friends with. And we were like joking around about it a little bit. And I was like, well, I'm glad it was you than not me. Well, for another scene they went ahead and they wanted us to change into wardrobe again. And I end up getting that same color in another outfit. And I thought, oh, Lord, that's just how the Lord works sometimes. Like I said, I really didn't prefer that outfit. He said, no, you're going to wear this outfit and you're going to get through this scene. So it ended up being where the testimonial part comes in is it was late in the day and we were all tired. We were already going 12 hours at it. And one of the, I won't say who it was. I was getting ready to say who it was. He had the choice of who was going to be in this scene. And the assistant to him called me over and said, go ahead to go into it. The other guy who had the final decision said no. And as loud as he could in front of everybody said, no, I hate that color. I don't want her. He said, I don't want her in that scene. I was like horrified. It ended up being that, okay, so I went to the holding area and I was sitting there and I thought, okay, it's all right. And maybe about 20 minutes later, he personally came over to me and said, come with me. And he put me back into the scene at the table, right not far from where the scene that was taking place when Fred Hampton's, the gentleman who plays Lakeith Stanford's role, Bill, was being told that Fred got killed. So it was just like God, like, the enemy stepped in and said, no, loud as could be, I don't want you. I don't want you. But God said, no, wait a minute. So that same gentleman came back, put me in the scene. Then when we closed up wrap for that day, they had just a little bit more to clean up. They told everybody to go. So I was getting ready to leave. And he said, no, Maurice, I need you. He kept me there. Okay. That's just how God is. Like, no, I don't want you. But it turned it around where he said, no, I need you. I was dumbfounded. I saw nothing but God in that, because that's how God is, So
Amen.
That was a little mini testimony. So, yeah.
Now, we have a comment here by Vaughn Bellamy, who's continuing his thought. He said, Jesus in Scripture was with those who was in submission to God and his laws. He wasn't with the rebellious. That's why they hated him. He fought against the unjust and the government of that time. He did.
Yes.
The wicked hated truth even today. They did, and they do.
Yes.
There's no question about that. So I thank you, Vaughn, for adding that. Jesus would have no problem with this film. Victoria, you should not feel One of the issues, Victoria, that we are having with the present state of affairs in the church today is a lot of hypocrisy. So we take the position of being these pristine, perfect people, which we are not, and we forget about why Jesus saved us, and we
Oh,
start picking
absolutely.
at other people who are not doing this right or not doing that right, or so forth and so on. And we always have to remember that Christ died because we don't know what we're doing. So the last
Absolutely.
thing we should be doing
Yeah,
is throwing
beautifully
rocks
said.
at others
Yeah.
that we may perceive as not necessarily doing the right thing. Nobody's doing the right
Right.
thing. We
Right.
need Christ. And
I,
so,
I think,
yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say
I'm
that,
sorry.
we all need Christ. And the last thing we need to be
Yeah.
doing is trying to pretend that injustices never occurred.
Right.
A lot of injustices have occurred in this country alone, not to mention in all of mankind. We could just talk about the United States. Tons and tons of injustices have occurred. And yes, if anyone should be addressing them, it should be Christians.
Absolutely. I think I have I have a hard time with being like defending myself sometimes because in the Christian world, I've come across a lot of persecution for going into the clubs. When I first got saved, I said, "Lord, you send me wherever you will send me, and I will go."
Right, right.
Now it wasn't like I just said that and then I just started doing. I questioned it every step of the way. Lord, why would you have me in the clubs? Because I know when I first got saved, this is maybe embarrassing to say, but I was a new Christian and you're hungry and you're watching everything and you'll see some Christians not living a Christian life. They're
Mm-hmm.
Christians. And I'm like, wow, is that really acceptable? We're talking things like things that we all know it's a deal breaker. They're not living like, Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
So every step of the way, every time I'd go into the clubs, I'm like, Lord, are you sure? There's alcohol around. I didn't go to some weddings because there was alcohol involved when I first got saved, because I know what alcohol does to a family. I have alcohol abuse in my background, in my family. I didn't want any parts of that. But
Okay.
yet, when you surrender to God and you say, you'll send me, Lord, wherever you'll send me, there's a purpose. There was a plan. And I saw it all along. And my main thermometer is my husband.
Okay.
He's a sold out man of God, and he wouldn't have let me. He would not have allowed me if he did not see God's hand on it to go into the clubs and that. So whenever I would, it took me a few years doing comedy that because my life is so different from everybody else's, I didn't get around other comedians, and when I did, I was singled out right away. You go into clubs? Yes, that's where I go. I go into clubs because that's where God called me. I don't believe that it may always be that way, but if whatever he says, I'll do it. I'll go. So that's why I kind of defend myself sometimes. I'm getting better at it, but today I had to explain that title, but thank you.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
my pleasure. Mr. Bellamy continues with another comment from Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And really, that's the key, is having a renewed mind. You know what I mean? That's what Christ is really commanding and offering us, is a new mind. And how are you going to help people if you never go out there and get dirty with them? And where you got to meet people where they are. You're not going to meet them within the four walls of the church. Everybody's supposed to be good in there. We got to get outside the walls of the church and go to where those that need Christ are, and give them the good news. And they're in clubs, and they're in bars, and they're in dark places, and we've been called to go find them. In fact, the priest came and found Jesus hanging out with a bunch of rigmaroles, and they were like, excuse me, what are you doing here? He said, well, I didn't come for the healthy, I came for the sick. And we are commissioned, Victoria, to go out and do what Christ has done. That's the example that he set. In fact, Christ said, you will do greater things than even I. And we're never going to get that accomplished if we don't get out there and do our thing. I do comedy in clubs and, as well as the church, because that's where Christ called me. And they're drinking alcohol, and they're talking about all kinds of obscene things, so forth and so on. But, I'm not. I'm there to, try to set an example and share the gospel whenever appropriate. But you have to go to where people are. If anyone has a problem with you doing that, they may want to check themselves, check the scripture again. But don't ever feel guilty about doing what you're doing, Victoria. I think you're doing some great things. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with comedian Victoria Day, who was in the film Judas and the Black Messiah. When is that going to be released, Victoria?
February 12th.
February 12th, and only in cinemas, I take it.
I did a little research. I thought I saw something about HBO, so I'm not quite sure. We might want to keep watching that. So
okay.
I'm not positive.
We showed the trailer earlier at the beginning of the show, and I see we have a lot of new listeners that may or may not have seen this. This is with Daniel Kaluuya, who is playing the role of Fred Hampton, civil rights activist and Black Panther Party organizer from the 60s and early 70s. And here is the trailer of that film in which Victoria Day appears in.
Deputy Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party.
Repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. 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 I am a revolutionary.
You're looking at 18 months for the stolen car, 5 years for impersonating a federal officer, or you can go home.
The Black Panthers are forming a rainbow coalition of oppressed brothers and sisters of every color.
Their aim is to sow hatred and inspire terror.
I will learn all that I can.
These ain't no terrorists.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom. I'm gonna die for the people because I live for the people. I live for the people because I love the people.
You know what I love about the Daniel Kaluuya? You know, he is not an American born and bred actor, and he's from, I want to say he's from England. But the fact that he can pull off that role with such accuracy is testament to his skill as an actor. I mean, he really tore that up. I cannot wait to see that film. He is an excellent young actor, as well, again, as Lakeith Stanfield. Both of those two young men are on the come up. I've often wondered who's going to be the guy to replace Denzel Washington. You know, his son was in Black Klansman, who's also very, very, very good. So, but that was an awesome experience for you, Victoria. I'm sure to be a part of that film. Everybody, check it out. February 12th in theaters only. I believe that's what it said at the end of that trailer. But it may, in fact, be on HBO as well. Check it out. It's called Judas and the Black Messiah, and that's going to be coming your way. You know, what's really interesting, the time we're living in, before you came on, I was saying the time that we're living in right now, Victoria, with COVID-19, the coronavirus, the BLM, the racial injustices that are going on. We got a crazy election that went down, and we're trying to still, come to some type of consummation with that. There's so much confusion going on in the world right now, not just America, but in the world right now. It is absolutely on a whole other level. And it makes you wonder what's actually, going to happen. Now, we know that Christ is in control. We know that.
Absolutely.
But we are at a time of tumultuous experiences right now in America. Now, Von Bellamy also chimes in with revolutionary actions scare people. Jesus was a revolutionary. All had denied Jesus except John and the women. Well, they were the ones that showed up. I guess I'll go with that. Speaking truth takes so much courage. Truth has the power to make change without picking up a gun. You don't have to pick up a gun. There's no question about that. There's no power, in fact, at the end of the day, in picking up in violence. There's no power in violence. So we have to remember that Christ died peacefully. But again, what we're going through in America right now, this is one of, you know what, Victoria, I think what we're experiencing, and I'm just going to throw it out for your consideration. I'd love to hear your response to this. But I'm watching what's happening in America right now, and I'm looking at the division. The fact that I go back to that great philosopher, Rodney King, when he said, "Can't we all get along?"
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're not getting along very well right now in America. We got a clear divide on what we ought to be doing as a nation, and we got two sides, and it's all coming down to an election. What scares me, Victoria, is that the divisiveness in America is so sharp in relation to our government that I believe we could, and I think this is a small possibility, but the fact that I believe it's a possibility is scary enough, and that's a potential civil war.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I don't know if you're viewing it that way, but I'm kind of looking at it that way. Like, we are at a very tenuous moment in America right now, quite frankly and honestly. We're at a very tenuous moment. So I think the film is kind of apropos, its release, and it's kind of lining up with what's actually happening in the world right now. I got one more response from my good friend, Mr. Bellamy. Mr. Bellamy, most wouldn't follow Jesus today because we would have fought against this very system. Most would have called him a socialist or a liberal who's fighting for God's kingdom if we are fillers of Christ. The reality is we would have killed him today just like we did then. Yeah. There would be no difference. We are just as guilty as those that killed him. So we just have to be thankful. Mr. Bellamy, thank you for the comment.
Yes, thank you.
We just have to be thankful for Jesus Christ. Victoria, I want to ask you now, and I just wanted to get your film out there, and now I want to focus on you, the comedian. I know that you were a part of a film, not a film, but you were invited to be a part of America's Got Talent recently. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can tell you just a pinch. Everything's top secret, just like in the movies when you're in the film industry. The reason I went, the reason I went public with the post that I auditioned, I was being overwhelmed with first the experience. It is phenomenal. I thought I would have been nervous, and it was just the emotions of I think 16 years they've been on, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And I've watched it all off and on. And then there's that, that thought, do you think you're really that funny? No, I don't believe I'm at that level yet. But I think because of the way the world is changing, I would have loved to wait a couple more years. I mean, there's some phenomenal people that are on there that I thought, how could I compete? So my thought was, well, my children think I'm funny. So I got their backing. But no, just being funny on that part. But I thought I could encourage others because there's so many people. I don't know if you're familiar with Les Brown. Are you familiar with the motivational speaker Les Brown?
I am, yes.
I had found him years ago, and he had spoke on how so many cemeteries are filled with their music still in them, with their talent still in them. And I thought if I could just encourage, I see so many people in my area and all across that I've traveled, they're so talented, but that fear locks them in. Their confidence locks, they're immobile. And I thought, I'm going to do this for the ones that were either told, I've been told before.
So let's see, Victoria, we are having an issue, I believe, with your Wi-Fi. Are you still there? Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking with comedian Victoria Day on the Maurice Brown Show. She's talking about her experience on America's Got Talent. She had an opportunity to be a part of that. So we're going to allow her to get her Wi-Fi together. I hope you're still hanging with us, Victoria. I had an opportunity to be a part of America's Got Talent in 2016. And I was called to a room with a bunch of other entertainers. And by the way, they got, oh my gosh, there's a couple of thousand or more people there. There's so many talented people in the United States. It's freaking unreal. But anyway, I got called to a room with about 25 people, and we all went in. We did our thing. I did my comedy. They only gave me 90 seconds to do comedy, but I had everybody in the room laughing. When this, I said, "Oh, I'm gonna make it," and then all of a sudden, this young boy of about 10, he couldn't have been more than 10 years old. And he sang like an angel. And I looked at all the other people that I was competing with. I said, guys, it's been real. It's been real. We're done. We're not going to make it. This kid was absolutely amazing. I never heard he would sing so beautifully, but long story short, that was the end of my opportunity to go to the next round, because they're only going to take people. There's so many people there. There's so much talent there. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Victoria Day, comedian, who had the opportunity to be on America's Got Talent, and she's in the process of AGT. And I think we just lost her. Her Wi-Fi went down on her. So I don't know if we're going to try to hang on a couple more minutes, and maybe she'll be back with us. But hopefully we can get her. But she's also in the film. We were talking about Judas and the Black Messiah, starring Daniel Kaluuya, playing alongside Lakeith Stanfield. That's going to be released February the 12th. On only in cinemas. It looks like it may be on the platform of HBO, but that's coming out on the 12th of February. Check it out. It's about Fred Hampton, the civil rights activist, aka Black Panther Party leader. Very powerful role played by Daniel Kaluuya, and Victoria had the blessing of being a part of that film, and we showed a trailer of it earlier, so just be on the lookout for that. Candace Kirkpatrick, thanks Candace for chiming in. Candace says that Victoria has a live stream comedy show on the 9th of this month, so please check that out. Victoria Day, comedian who's involved with America's Got Talent. Hey, Valita, what's going on? Thank you. Valita, it was a great interview with Victoria. We lost her. Her Wi-Fi went out, and I'm just giving her an opportunity to come back in and continue our conversation and talk more about her awesome career. Candace, thank you for letting the audience know that you can catch a live stream show, comedy show, which stars Victoria Day, as she was sitting with us in her rollers, which is, part of Victoria's comedy. You got to love it. She's so down to earth. She can wear rollers and her bathrobe and just kick it for 60 minutes. I love it. Anyway, we're waiting on her to come back. She's going to be hanging out with us, hopefully, in the next couple of minutes. She was in Judas, and she was wondering, and she was concerned about being, as a Christian, being a part of a film with the title Judas and the Black Messiah, and of course, describing the Black Panther Party. That's what the film does, and I told her that she should not be concerned about that. As a Christian, we should always attack truth. Always good stuff, very informative. Thank you, Valita. We should always attack truth and talk about it. And the reality is, it went down in the 60s. It went down in the 70s. And it was just a tumultuous time of racial division. And unfortunately, what we're looking at right now in America is maybe a revisitation on some level of what happened in the 60s, with the potential of getting worse. I pray that it doesn't. Where does Victoria live? That's a good question, Karen. I'm not really sure. I want to say she's probably on the West Coast, like yourself out there in San Diego, her being in hair rollers and a bathrobe and all. I don't know. It's a good question, Karen, but hopefully hopefully she can get back tomorrow. Program reminder, tomorrow at 12 noon, we're going to be talking with Jordan Elsass, who was in episode 8 of the show Vindication. And we love Vindication here on the Maurice Brown Show. He's in episode 8, but not only that, Jordan is also in Little Fires Everywhere. That is probably one of the top shows on the virtual platform that you can see. He's in that series with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. He plays the role of Trip in Little Fires Everywhere. That's a 10-episode season. Don't know if they're going to have a season 2, but Jordan is starring in that show. He's also going to be starring in the CW program Superman and Lois. And that I think that begins February the 23rd. And he plays the role of Jonathan Kent, the son of Clark and Lois Kent. Jordan is in that role, and he's also in another show called Panic. So Jordan's doing his thing. Jordan is getting it done right now in the world of entertainment. He's going to be here tomorrow, 12 noon on the Maurice Brown Show. Don't miss that. And then later on, we're going to have at 3 p.m., my good friend Karen Robertson, who just chimed in, wanted to know where Victoria lives. Karen Robertson will be on the show. She's a comedian out of San Diego. She will be here tomorrow at 3 p.m. And the reason she'll be here at 3 p.m. because it'll be 12 noon Pacific time out there, but it's late enough still where she won't have to wear her rollers and bathrobe like my good friend Victoria. Victoria, I'm only kidding. But tomorrow, 3 p.m., be here for Karen Robertson, comedian out of San Diego, California. Kevin Scott Collier says, Victoria lives in the heart of Jesus. Easy answer. Of course she does, Kevin. Absolutely, 100%. And as we speak of Victoria, she's back. Hello,
Sorry.
Victoria.
I am so sorry about that. What I miss?
Oh, you didn't miss very much. I was just running my mouth as I normally do. But Victoria,
I felt so bad.
So we had a question from Karen Robertson. She wanted to know where you live. Where are you located, Victoria?
Right now, currently, I'm in New Mexico, but I go back and forth to Ohio and back here. Yeah.
Got it. So that the time zone in New Mexico, is that 3 hours behind East Coast time?
2
hours. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was letting everyone know tomorrow we're going to have Jordan Elsass on at 12 noon. Have you ever watched the show Vindication?
No, I have not. I live a sheltered life.
You got to check it out. You got to go to PureFlix, subscribe to PureFlix. It is one of the best faith-based projects on the virtual platform that you can see.
I've heard a lot about it. Yes, absolutely.
You will love it. And so Jordan is on episode 8 of that show. He's going to be on tomorrow at 12 noon, but he's also on the Hulu series Little Fires Everywhere with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. And he's also going to be featured in the CW series Superman and Lois as Jonathan Kent, the son of Clark and Lois. So he's going to be on the show tomorrow. And then at 3 o'clock, it's going to be Karen Robertson. So let's get back to Victoria Day, the comedian. We understand that you have a live stream comedy show courtesy of Candace Kirkpatrick. She chimed in and said that you have a comedy show on the 9th of this month. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that's this Saturday coming up.
Okay.
Our first show that we did the last Tuesday of December was phenomenal. It was I couldn't believe how just God moved throughout it all. It's a clean comedy show. This one Saturday is in the afternoon. I have a comedian that's from Israel, so we had to kind of squeeze him in somehow. And I kind of like the idea that I think we're going to keep doing it in the afternoon so it could fluctuate for other people that wouldn't be able to normally come. The audience, Maurice, I know I say this, I'm sure every time after you're done performing, you're like, that is the best audience ever. This audience was phenomenal. Most of them never Zoomed before. This was the first time downloading it. They're not used to going to comedy clubs. They didn't know what to expect. So
Okay.
it was, the audience was just so supportive. They were there to laugh. And I've been still trying to catch up on all the messages of how much it meant to them to be able to just laugh, to put everything else on the side for a little bit and just be with us. I felt like family. It was so great. It really was. It was really, and I can't thank the comedians enough for help pulling it off. We only had 2 little glitches. And that's another thing that was amazing, because look today how many glitches I had on my end. We just had a comedian couldn't get in, and such a professional, he called in, and it was like the Dave Letterman show, Maurice. He was just like talking on the phone, doing his routine. It was hysterical. It made it even more funnier. So, and then we had one person didn't know how, we couldn't help talk them through to log on to the link. But that's pretty amazing to only have 2 little glitches, but it ran real smooth. So I thank God for that.
Well,
Yes.
that's one of the things about 2020. We realized, Victoria, that technology is just, it is a billy goat to handle, especially,
Yes.
people are around our age. I mean, I'm 56. I'm lost. I wouldn't be able to do this without my kids. I wouldn't be able to do a
Absolutely,
darn
yeah.
thing. They do everything. One thing 2020 taught me something, though, Victoria. It taught me that Alexa needs to get a job. Yeah, you can't just be hanging around my house and ignoring
That's
me,
right.
when talking to my kids.
That's right.
I told my daughter, I said, you tell Alexa that I need my clothes taken to the cleaners on Tuesday, the lawn mowed on Saturday, and I want you flipping burgers at McDonald's by Monday. Or you got to get out of here. Anyway,
Oh, that's so funny.
but listen, how often do you do those comedy shows, Victoria? Is this like a monthly thing?
I thought I was only going to do one. How that came about is when COVID first hit, I was like full throttle with my comedy, and I had all this planned out and based, and I was starting to get clubs that I had always wanted to do, and they're on my calendar. And I'm in Michigan performing, and I started hearing the news. I was at the Gilder Radner Laugh Fest.
Okay.
And I hear the news. I did my first show, and the hospitals are starting to get filled. And I'm thinking, I'm 6 hours away. How will I get to my children if I get sick? Or my husband was in New Mexico at the time.
Yeah.
So I had to make some kind of a decision. So I went back to Ohio, and I just locked down. My family and I just did everything we could to prepare us. I felt for me that it was God shutting us down, trying to get us to regroup and to get more focused. So that's what I did. So now I noticed this Zoom, well, not right away. It took me a couple of weeks to get everything together. I questioned, where does comedy fit anymore? I mean, we're talking about people dying in nursing homes. So much was going on. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I had to catch my breath a little. Now, there were some that they jumped right into it. I couldn't do it just yet. So once I caught my breath, I said, I gotta give this Zoom a try, because I had already thought years ago that I wanted to do something like this for the seniors that couldn't get out, that were in centers and that, but I couldn't put it together. I was just so busy. So this fits in perfect to reach those who can't get out, wouldn't normally get out. And like you've said many times, internationally, we can reach wherever we want to, as long as our internet connection's good. So what I did is, thank God, he had it planned out perfect, that my husband happened to be in New Mexico and I was in Ohio. So I had a little bit more focus that I could give to the Zooming. And I was just doing it nonstop every time I could, because I didn't want to wait to where we are now and try to learn this. I knew if we were going to make it work, I wanted to be on the front side of it. And that was the beauty. Another beauty of it is we were all on a level field, the same level. In my life, I have a large family. I have 9 children. One of them is special needs. So my life I can't do it the way the world in the comedy world or entertainment or anything, the way they have it set up. Mine's totally different. But with Zoom, we're all, like my daughter's down the hallway, we're all holding my breath that she's going to be okay. It's easier, more accessible. So I jumped on it right away. I thank God for the ones who plowed the way to show us that we can do this on Zoom. There are still people that are against it and say this will never work, but this is what we're faced with, and I want to try to make the best of it. And here's the thing too, Maurice, it hasn't been done. So however you decide to do your show is how you're the producer, you're the manager of your ministry, your comedy. So that's, I think, we should get on board if instead of saying you wish you would have, or I would have, or let's just do it. So that's the beauty of Zooming. So, but I hit a wall. I was getting ready to do the Boston Comedy Festival, and 2 hours before I was doing a show, and it was too much. It was way too much. I couldn't do it anymore. And plus two, on the Zooms, there's not a whole lot of clean comedy Christian Zooms that I'm aware of right now. And so I just kind of got beat up spiritually over it. And I felt like God was saying, it's time now. You prepared yourself. I studied myself approved. Let's do your show. And my children jumped on board. They said, Mom, look what all you go through to do a Zoom. Do it for yourself. And I can reach my audience and any other audiences, of course, too, but more zeroed in on them. Whereas when you're doing someone else's show, it's their audience, and that's fine. But my heart, my compassion is for the special need moms, the elderly, the caretakers, that they don't have a minute to spare. So I'm going to give them everything I got to give them that moment of respite, and to show them the Christ in us, and that we can be clean, funny. Funny can be clean. It doesn't have to be vulgar or, inappropriate. So that's how I got started in the shows. So I was only going to do one. Then the outpouring, the support, I got a sponsor. The sponsor said, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. I'll pay. There's a cost in this, which we have to, I pay my comedians. We have our monthly Zoom bills you have to pay and all that. So I can only see it as God. So as it stands right now, I have 4 more shows. I don't have the dates exactly, but I do know it's going to be on Saturday afternoons and usually on Tuesday nights. So that's how that got started with the shows.
Well, Victoria, get me involved. I would love to be a part of it.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah, let's stay in touch. I'd like to be on one of those shows.
Absolutely.
I've been doing comedy. I've done 3 Zoom shows this year. I was hesitant to get involved in the beginning because it's like, this is just got to go away. Hopefully we'll be back. I just kept believing we were going to be back. When I realized we were not going to be back out there, I did some Zoom shows, and I have a lot of comedy friends that are not Christian. Again, getting back to the bars, because I go out to the bars and I do my clean comedy with anybody and anywhere. So I did like 3 Zoom shows, and they all went pretty well, actually. You know what's really going on too in comedy as it relates to Christian comedy, Victoria, is the secular world. They're outpointing us, because they're like doing it, and they figured out how to make this platform work. It can work. The virtual platform form of comedy can work, and you can get faces on the screen, and you can get hundreds and hundreds of people watching you, and you can just keep flipping the page of faces and so forth. And so we in the Christian world, we're kind of slow to the jump on this. But it's being done, and it's being done rather effectively. But I only did 3 of those shows, and I started investing more into what I'm doing now. But in 2021, I think I'm going to hit the ground running again and just dive into Zoom again.
Yes.
I'd like to do some Christian shows, like work collaborating with you. But I'm just going to get back out to it, just doing shows everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, all over the world. I mean, and now it's accessible, and it doesn't matter if they're obscene or not. I don't care, because the mission is to bring light. And so I'm just diving in 2021.
Yes, I encourage you to.
Just let me know. I would love to be a part of your show as well.
I'd appreciate that. We'd love to have you.
Let's stay in contact. Tell us how you use, because I mentioned during your introduction that you work with folks that are struggling with mental health issues. How do you use your comedy to do that?
Well, from my personal experience, I start with, I had a grandmother who was severely depressed, but I didn't know it because we didn't talk about it back then. But she would say things like, I could just go in a corner and cry. Nobody else ever saw that side of her but me, because I lived with her. And what do you say to somebody like that? So it started off slowly, where I thought, I want to be able to help people. And when I started the comedy, I had some seniors reach out to me to come speak to them at their centers. The seniors are a little bit sensitive to the word depression. So when you talk about the mental health, wellness, we know that the quote proverb says, a merry heart does like good medicine, but most people don't finish that. It says about the dry bones. So if you don't have that laughter in you, that lubrication for your well-being, then you start to sink back. Now, right now we're into a lot of people are struggling with winter blues. So it's like it's sad because one of the side effects is they'll pull back and they become isolated. So it's harder to reach them. Now we have the pandemic, so that's even twice on. I mean, it tripled, dippled all over on them that they're receding back. So I felt it. I started a goal where I was going to go to every senior center I could possibly go. As long as when I was doing a comedy club, I'd reach out to a senior center, and I was on a roll. My goal was to reach every state I could, and then COVID hit. So now with the Zooming, not all the centers are back up on it, and especially for like the nursing homes. Some of them still are in lockdown. They can't get out to the main areas. But I think as soon as I can get myself turned around here a little bit more, I want to do that regularly, because so many times I've gone into nursing facilities and I've had the nurses ask me, please go see someone. No one ever comes. I met this elderly lady. She hasn't had a visitor for years. How does that happen? As a human society, how does that happen that we would allow one soul, one person not to ever, have contact? That's how it started. So it was by word of mouth that I started. I didn't set out to have that as my public speaking mission. It worked. It revolved around that. So at first we thought, well, maybe it was just to talk about comedy and the importance of humor. It's much deeper than that. It's as simple as things. With my special need daughter, I have times with her that it was just her and I locked in a room. She has a lot of behavioral issues. Mm-hmm. How do I mentally, I have my faith in God. I'm so grateful for that, because I would have never came out of there alive. But sometimes I just laugh just to need that laughter. And then you see all the benefits that it happens. So that's how the mental health wellness ministry started, where I would go out and speak with that.
Well, you know what? Now is the time to dive in, because comedy is a liberating thing. It is something that I've always felt that comedy brings mental health. You are at your best mentally when you're laughing. You're thinking more clearly when you're in a state of laughter than any other mental state that you can be in. It is something about laughter. Mm-hmm. And this is a time, because of the field that you're in, to dive into the virtual platform and just start doing comedy shows.
Absolutely.
Because listen, let me tell you something. This is not going anywhere, Victoria. I pray that we'll be back to normal, and we're out there in the theaters and the comedy clubs and the venues and all. Yeah. But I don't think this platform is leaving. Like, we're going to take this with us back to normalcy. And it might even be the dominant form of entertainment on the virtual level than even in live audiences. I really believe this is the platform now to fully grasp and dive into and learn how to thrive in it, because I think that's where we're actually going. Candace Kirkpatrick says, isn't God awesome how he's called you to minister to specific groups? Thanks for being his hands and feet. Laughter is beautiful medicine. Yes, it is, Candace.
Thank you, Candace. Absolutely. Thank you.
God bless you, Victoria. Keep doing what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with Victoria Day, comedienne out of New Mexico. She's been hanging out with us on the Maurice Brown Show. We'll have to have you back again sometime, Victoria, because I had a lot more questions I wanted to cover. So we got to do another show down the road. So also, ladies and gentlemen, you can see her in the film Judas and the Black Messiah. That's going to be released February the 12th. Looks like it's only going to be in cinemas. Perhaps it'll be on HBO. By the way, before we get out of here, Victoria, how can fans follow you on social media or contact you for booking?
Okay, you can go to www.thevictoriaday.com, and I have a form on there that you can fill out, and I'll get back with you. And you can also find me on Facebook on Victoria Day and Friends. And you can see when our upcoming shows are. And if you'd like to be a part of one of our shows, I'd love, you can message me one of your videos in your bio, and we'll take a look at it. We watch every video. It takes me a little while to get back to you, but we watch every one of them, and I appreciate it. It's been a blessing to be on here, Maurice. I speak nothing but blessings back on you and your audience. I appreciate what all you're doing for the kingdom of God. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can see this show on YouTube. Go to my channel, Maurice Brown Comedy on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share. Let everybody know about the Maurice Brown Show. We've been talking with Victoria Day, comedian out of New Mexico. She's been on, and she's going to be doing a live comedy show on the 9th of this month. How can fans see that, by the way, real quick?
They can get a ticket through Everbright for any size donation, or if your free doesn't fit your budget, that's fine. You can just contact me and I'll get you a ticket.
Sounds good. And don't forget, you can see the replay of the Maurice Brown Show on the Creative Motion Network on Roku TV. Once again, everybody, we've been talking with Victoria Day. Victoria, thank you so much for being on the show, and may the peace of Jesus Christ be with you and your family, Victoria.
You're also. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.